Well, from the very beginning of it, I was a junior in high school, and the Navy came around and were promoting going to radio school or radar school, and if you passed their test, they would send you directly to the school right from the high school. And if not, if you didn't pass it, you could still continue your enlistment if you wanted to. And I had turned 18 in February of that year, 45. So I felt that if I was going to go into service, I'd rather go into the Navy than the Army or the Marines. So I took the test, and I failed it by 3 points. And they said, "Would you like to continue your enlistment?" And I said, "Well, okay." I said, I'm in favor of it. So they completed my enlistment, and in let's see, I think around the 1st of April, I was sent out to Great Lakes boot camp, and I was out there until almost the end of April. And the week I was discharged, President Roosevelt died. And I got home for a few days, and then I was on a train going out to San Francisco when that was May 8th, I think, and Nazi Germany surrendered. And I got out there in San Francisco. The United Nations was just being formed, and we were out there more or less like gophers, taking care of all the personnel and that. And I was assigned to switchboard at the naval facility on Market Street. And I was there for about a week or 2 weeks. And after that, they sent us out to, I think it was Treasure Island, I'm not sure, to pick up our troop ship. And it was a new one. It was called the General Muir, I think. Anyway, when I got on board, I found out that they had 500 waves on board, and they were being dropped off in Hawaii for that. So they restricted them to a certain part of the ship, and they had Marine guards patrolling, so no hanky-panky. So anyhow, we dropped them off in Hawaii, and we proceeded into the Leyte Gulf in the Philippines, and to pick up our ship. And the process is that they board us aboard a real barge, I guess, like a super big boat. Anyway, there's about 30 of us on this, and they drop us off by every ship. And we went by a series of destroyers, and I thought, I'll be assigned a destroyer, because my brother was in the service then. He was on the USS Stevens, a destroyer, and I thought it'd be great if we got on the same ship. But anyway, they went by the destroyers, and I didn't get on it. Next, they went by cruisers. I thought, okay, that's a nice ship. So, nope. Everyone, about half of them got off for the cruiser. And there's about 8 of us left, and then we passed all the, I think they call them capital ships, and we came to the cargo ships. And I said, that's not nice. I mean, I don't want to be on a cargo ship. But anyway, I said, such is life. So we came up to one called the Mauna Loa, USS Mauna Loa, AE-8. And would you know it? They said, Scheckel, disembark, this is your stop. So I was put on an ammunition ship. And I was out there for about 2 weeks. And we were lined up to go out to service the 8th Fleet. I think it was the 8th Fleet. I'm shaking my memory on this. That was bombarding Japan at the time for the invasion of Japan. So we went out there, and we were warned there were kamikaze suicide planes. The Japanese were sending them out to sink our battleships and cruisers. Anyway, we were out there, and we had the huge battleships come up alongside. We threw a line over to them we unloaded our 16-inch shells and canisters of powder and all kinds of ammunition on these big nets. And they roll it on there, and then this net would pick it up, and it's like a trolley across the ocean. It went to the battleship. It was the USS Missouri. And that ship, I'll tell you, seemed like it came out of nowhere. It was beautiful. It was huge. Ours is a little bobbing up down ship, and that thing just coasted alongside of us, just like that. It wasn't phased by the waves or anything, you know. And unfortunately, they were loading it up real fast, and on about the third run of ammunition to the ship, they lifted it up off the deck about 8 feet, about up like that, and the thing blew open. And the shells, the canisters of powder, everything hit the deck, you know. We all stopped. Our hearts stopped because, well, the friction or something like that could have set the powder off. It was that way. So for 3 seconds, I thought we were all gone, you know. And so anyhow, they got it fixed up, but that poor guy that was in charge of that part, he never heard the end of it. But anyway.
Let me stop you there.
Oh, yeah. Aboard ship, it was inevitable that you have, you know, friendships there. And imagine about half dozen crewmen were my buddies. And when we went ashore, we all went out drinking together and carousing. And so we did form those bonds. They were from all parts of the United States. They're from New England, Appalachia, Tennessee, Virginia, New Hampshire, all over. New York, in fact, New York.
So people, so it's, when you say it's it's universal, people from all over it sounds like people from all over wanting.
Well, they were they came from various boot camps throughout the nation. Most of them were from Great Lakes, like I was, but they're from Idaho. I think they had a big one, and somewhere in New England they had a big one. So all of them were more or less, like you say, graduates of those different boot camps. And
what is your connection to Pullman? You said you've been here since '95.
yes, because well, we were in business in Chicago for 15 years, and the lady that worked for us, her and her husband made a trip around the lake that summer, and they came back and they said, we spotted a beautiful place, really nice lake called Upper Scott Lake in Pullman, Michigan. And they said that we were in the process of selling our store and retiring, so we said, what about it? Well, she said, it was a former YMCA camp. I said, oh, was that Camp Shanny? And she said, yeah. I said, oh my God. In 1938, I was up here with my buddy in Chicago for 2 weeks, up here at this camp, Camp Shanny. And I'll tell you, it was amazing. So anyhow, the YMCA sold all the property to a developer called Nadu. So we bought one of the lots. When I came up here, we saw it, we liked it very much, and we still do. And we bought a lot and developed it. We took a couple of consular cabins, put them together, had them elevated, tore it all out, and refurbished it. So, we're here.
In terms of the memorial project, that the memorial that they're going to be unveiling next weekend, does that, what does that mean to you?
Well, what it means to me, more than anything else now, is that back then, we were all for our country. We were all motivated to join, to get at the Nazis and the Japs. I mean, it was just you graduated from school, you expected to go into service, And our attitude was, we were here to defend our country, and we wanted to be in on it. And most of my brothers joined, and I was right behind them, joined with them. But back then, we had a sense of pride in our country, and we had friends who never came back, but they were there too. They made the sacrifice for it, and they did not make any excuses for it. So I don't know. It was a different attitude. We liked it. We were willing to defend it, even die for it. It didn't bother us, and I don't know. It was just entirely. Now, what are they doing? It's something that is unfathomable for me to understand. They're tearing us down, and I think that we should get back to our roots, to be honest about it.
Yeah. What do you hope people will get out of the memorial?
Well, what we should get out of the memorial is that what the sacrifices of those who died got out of it. You might say the protection of our country and destruction of a tyranny. And they made the sacrifice. And they're willing to make that sacrifice because they saw in the end that it was a good sacrifice to make.
What were some of your biggest takeaways from it when you got back stateside?
You mean what I didn't like about it, or what I liked about it? Or?
Well, what you thought about it, I guess, like how did it sit with you?
Well, the thing that bothered me more than anything else was the fact that it was aboard a ship. It was boring because it was the same thing day in and day out, and you're not aboard. You're not on the shore. You're not doing things on the shore. You're in the enclosure like here in one room, and every day you're seeing the same people, the same things, the same. You get up at a certain time. You go to hit the sack at a certain time. When you get up, you do certain things like swab the deck or so, chip the paint or something like that. But it was all routine, repeated day after day after day. But in the end, I did develop a kind of a tolerance for things and trying to understand people. In other words, overcoming obstacles. I'll tell you one incident that happened. I'm somewhat embarrassed, but nevertheless it happened. I was with a group of my buddies, and they were all by our bunks, and we were playing their guitars and singing the freight train blues and all that stuff. And I came there, and there was this guy. He's a boxer, a championship boxer from Peoria, Illinois. And he and I didn't like each other. We didn't talk to each other, but for some reason, we just didn't mesh. And he was also a bully in a true sense of the word, because he was a big, all that. So he did some, I don't want to use the word, things to other crewmen, and they can do nothing about it. And if he didn't like you, he and his buddies would do these things, So anyhow, he said to me, Paul, or no, he called me Scheck. Hey, Scheck, I understand they want to train someone for the crane operator. And I understand that you can go for it, and I'm sure that they'll accept you for it. And so why don't you try for it? And my buddy said, Paul, don't listen to him. That's all BS. And I knew it was BS, but I said, well, I'll go. I'll try it. They said, Paul, don't do it. There is no such thing. There's no position open like that. I said, no, I'll just go up there and see for myself. So I ran up to the guy, and I said, I understand you have an opening for an operator on the crane. They said, are you kidding? Who told you that? And I said, well, so-and-so did. You're Hey, get out of here. So I went back and I told them, I said, there was no such opening. And they laughed and laughed and all. And the thing is, they never, I gave him a sense of victory over me. I let him make a fool out of me for a second, but he didn't bother me, and his buddies didn't bother me. I didn't have to worry about anything. I felt it was a little bit of a sacrifice to make a fool out of myself, but it prevented him from pulling some BS on me, So that's it. Well, you
So
gotta.
you have an understanding of people and how what makes them tick.
Oh yes, you learn that very quickly. Oh yes, I meant to tell you about that too. When we got back from that service in the 8th Fleet that time, we got back in the Leyte Gulf, and we were all being resupplied with supplies for another run out. But in the interim, we were back in our bailiwick. And one night, this was around August 6th or 7th, we were watching a first-grade movie, a Technicolor movie. And right in the middle of the movie, the screen went blank. And we looking around at what happened to the movie, And all of a sudden, the sky lit up with flares all over the place. Flares all over. We at first thought we were being attacked. And we said, how could this be? So anyhow, before we got too panic-stricken, the loudspeaker, the captain came over the loudspeaker. Gentlemen, calm down. I have news for you. The Japanese just announced their surrender. And with that, you could hear everyone, the echoing of all the singing and, talking, and the flares are going off all over the place. It was like a 4th of July celebration. And that was one of the most, I don't know, I felt good. We were there when they bombed Hiroshima too, and Nagasaki. So, and then we were supposed to go into Tokyo Bay with all the troops and everything, with all the other ships. And at the very last minute, they changed our orders and ordered us back to the States. And, okay, we all wanted to go to see Japan, but, what can you do? So anyway, we left 2 days later for the States. In the meantime, the USS Indianapolis was torpedoed by a renegade Japanese sub. And I think everyone was lost at sea, plus the 5 Sullivan brothers. There were 5 Sullivan brothers on that ship, and they all perished. And we were just after that going by that area. So when I did a very stupid thing, I had KP duty, and we all of us in the kitchen there wanted to come on deck to get some cool, fresh air. So we were at the forecastle, at the front of the ship, and we were talking. They were talking about, we're going home. There's one of them, he just haven't seen his son, is a year old, and they were all talking about how glad they're going to get back home. And I said, yeah. I looked down there and I said, gee, the phosphorus, the bow of the boat would cut through the water and it had this glow, out there. And I said to him, I wonder if a torpedo would make that same glow. They looked at me and they said, and I said, well, it's just a thought. And all of them would talk to me for a whole month after that. They say, you're nuts, Well, I didn't think anything of it, But here they are, have families, and they're talking about their wives and kids, and I'm talking about a torpedo possibly coming at us, Stupid.
Ammunition ship.
Yeah, it's an ammunition ship, yeah.
I think we got it. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
That was awesome.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was.